Well, the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry recently launched a monthly podcast on current topics like who's running for governor. And it's also related to agriculture and forestry.
The podcast, called 3415, will feature Commissioner Mike Strain or other agriculture and forestry professionals who will discuss 3 different topics for 15 minutes. Here's an excerpt from the first podcast in which Commissioner Strain discusses the importance of infrastructure improvements for rural America.
So one of the biggest parts of this is to have broadband. And how do we do that? How do we eliminate some useless regulations that stop us? How do we put towers on state and federal land? How do we incentivize it? How do we get that there? The next part is on our inland waterways. How do we bring those up to the codes of this century? If you look at the United States, we rank first as an economic powerhouse of the world. We rank 14th in infrastructure. Those two things are incompatible in the long term. And the third one was part where we went and really talked about our investment in our harbors, our ports, the lower Mississippi River, the port of Baton Rouge, port of South Louisiana, port of New Orleans, all the way up to the mouth of Mississippi, the port of Lake Charles, port of St. Mary, because that is the way we're going to move products to the world. And then talking about our rural roads and our rural bridges, 60 to 70% of all roads and bridges are in the rural areas. How we're going to modernize our train system, how we're going to bring that forward. And then another big part of the overall plan is investment in science and technology and innovation and putting this all together. So both from the infrastructure, where we talked about how we're going to streamline the project. And so when I was in the meeting with the president, we were talking about how these great and wonderful plans. But the other part of the conversation, if it takes 10 to 12 years to get a permit, none of us would be here when the project even begins, much less finish. So how do we expedite that? How do we start and get shovel ready? Or how do we do this beginning in 2 years or less? And then where do we find the $1.5 trillion? How do we partner together? The federal government, state government, private enterprise. So we're so excited about infrastructure because if you look at what infrastructure did, if you think about the Great Depression and the investment in infrastructure, that modernized America and put us first in the world's superpower.
Now, if you like that podcast and want to listen to more, we'll link you on our website at twilatv.org.